Okay, so before we start our Dhamma discussion, let's first recollect the qualities of the Buddha. That means that the Buddha was worthy of offerings, that he was free from defilements, that's Arahant. And exalted, that's Bhagava. Bhagavato, Arahato means worthy of offerings and free from defilements. And Samma Sambuddhassa means rightly and fully enlightened. So we can chant Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. 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 So, Michele, I think you have a question. Can you tell it for us?
So, I'm planning to try to live as a monk, and I would ask you if you can give any advice how to prepare, or give any advice what to think about or what to do before.
In the Buddha's time, usually if somebody became a monk, they would become immediately monks. So there was no preparation stage or nothing that would somebody train in before they would become monks. However, later many ascetics from different religions would join the Buddha's order of monks, and they would join it with different beliefs and different ideas and practices, and then as monks they didn't do exactly what was expected from them. So that's where the Buddha has established a preparation stage, which is usually called as probationary. So there is this probationary period, and it's called the novicehood or samanera. So when somebody wants to become a monk, they're supposed to be first novice or samanera for some time before they get the higher ordination. As a samanera, if somebody makes a mistake or don't understand something or a little bit difficult, then there is a lot of space for improvement. And at the same time, there is no serious fault in just not following a rule, because it's just a novicehood. Of course, if somebody intentionally breaks the rules, then that's true. There are some little cures or purifications. However, if somebody breaks the rules unintentionally, then the teacher will willingly excuse the person, and it's everything all right. So that's for novicehood. If somebody wants to become a monk and they're not sure whether they are able to be a good monk, whether they are able to follow these 90 billion rules or 227 rules that are the most famous, then it is possible. Then it is possible to stay as a novice for some time. So, for example, as for me, I was a novice for over 4 years, and I think that it was very good because I made a lot of mistakes, which would not be easy to purify as a monk, or which may have caused me a doubt as a monk. So then when I became a monk, I was quite experienced from the novicehood, and therefore I didn't have the difficulty facing some more serious breaking of rules because I was already well experienced from novicehood. But even before I became a novice, I trained very hard at home as a layperson to be sure that I actually can follow the basic rules. So some of the most difficult rules could involve masturbation, not eating dinner, not listening to music, not playing games, and there are of course many other, but these would be the most difficult. For some people, they really like to listen to music, and I really like to listen to music. So this was one thing very difficult for me. Also, as a layperson, I like to train on skateboard. And I found it really difficult to let go of training on skateboard. So in these cases, it's very good to try it as a layperson, for let's say 3 months or 6 months, and see whether you could follow that for several months like that. And I followed the 8 rules for around 10 months. 8 rules means the 5 rules. Only the 3rd rule is entire celibacy, and then there are 3 more rules involving not eating dinner, not adorning oneself, not enjoying multimedia, and finally not using luxurious furniture. So these 8 rules can be easily followed as a layperson. I don't think there are many people who would blame you for following them. Rather, I think people would support. The thing is that, of course, by not listening to music, by not watching funny videos, you are getting out from the society. So, when you follow 8 rules, it's not easy to go to pub, and have a beer here and there, and come to a nightclub and have a drink with a lady here and there, culminating in some things more serious. So it is good to know that by following 8 precepts, you are getting a little bit alone, which I think is good though, because then you have more time to meditate. And as you have more time to meditate, you can see whether it would be comfortable for you to meditate more. So dedicate, let's say, 5 hours or 10 hours to meditation every day when you are free. So of course, when you are in job or at school, then there is not enough time for meditation regardless the rules you follow. But then there is, let's say, Saturday or Sunday or holidays or Christmas or summer vacation or anything when you might have more time for yourself and you can dedicate it to meditation because, as I've said before, you will not be occupied by your friends. On the other hand, there may be other friends who may like actually to join you in meditation or in the Dhamma practice, in Dhamma study. So at that time, those friends would actually associate you and they would like to spend time with you. And this, I think, is very powerful, because you then have a very good influence to the society. And your friends can get inspired by you. So this way it's possible to train in the 8 precepts and thus prepare for the 10 precepts of being a novice, where the only difference is using money. The 8th precept, the 7th precept is divided into 2. That means self-adornment and enjoying multimedia. And the 10th then comes as the 10th, not using money. So the novicehood then is not that much different, but still there is, how to wear the robe and how to eat from the bowl and so on. Altogether, novices' rules could be around 120, because there are these 10 which are most famous, but then there are other 10 which are not that famous, and then there are the 32 kinds of speech. These are called the animal speech or idle speech, like speech about politics or about kings, about ghosts, about the past and future of the world, about ladies, about food, about clothes, and so on and so on. So, of course, these talks are necessary to be engaged in if there is some problem, such as if somebody gets poisoned or if there is an invitation for a meal. But otherwise, these should not be indulged in just for fun or just because there is nothing better to do. So there are 32 speeches like that. And then there are the Sekhyas, 75 training rules. And these training rules have to be followed by novices. So training rules related to going for alms round, teaching Dhamma, and eating, and so on and so on. So and wearing robes. So these training rules also have to be trained as a novice. So here you see that if you train 8 rules, it doesn't mean that you are like a novice. But I think that it's the best opportunity and the best practice to get ready for the life. Then changing from a novice to a monk is still a very large difference, because again, as a monk there are over 90 billion rules, and to study them, to follow them, takes some time to get used to it. It's possible. So if it's possible, then it just takes time to get used to it, to learn how to deal with the problems. So some monks get, they worry, and what if I break this little rule, and what if I don't know that little rule? Then obviously that happens, but this is not a problem if it is not intentionally. That means that you would know the rule, you would know how to follow it, and you would simply decide, I don't care. So if you don't do that, then there is no problem in the rules. Actually, even arahants, who are completely free from all greed, hatred, ignorance, who are completely accomplished in the noble practice, even then they can break the rules, even some of the more serious rules, if it is not intentionally, because the rules are based to protect the community and not to create some restrictions. They protect the community by creating restrictions, but at the same time, these restrictions are not necessarily based on non-lust or non-greed, or non-hatred. They are rather based on the safety of the society and appreciation of the lay people. Some of them, of course, are based on non-greed, non-hatred, but many of them are not, and they are rather just helping the society to live in harmony and without blame from the lay people. So, for example, lay people in India, they believe that there is life in plants, that there is life in seeds, that there is life in ground. That, however, is not believed in Buddhism. And so to reconcile this, the Buddha has decided that monks will not, intentionally dig into the ground, intentionally, cut the grass or pick grass or flowers or cut the trees or eat fruit which has not been at least symbolically cut by lay people. So these are rules which are there only to appease lay people who believe in life in plants, not at all to avoid some greed or hatred. So there are rules like that, and if monks know them, it's good for the community, and if they don't know them, then there should be some other monks who will remind or who will inform these new monks about those rules. That's why a new monk should have a teacher at least for around 5 years to learn the rules and how to follow them and how to cope up with various problems in monk's life. So as a layperson, you can prepare by 8 precepts, but then after being a layperson, you have opportunity to train more as a novice. In Myanmar, if you are over 20 years, it's not expected that you will be novice longer than, let's say, 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Or 10 minutes. In Sri Lanka, however, that's where I became a novice. You would be a novice half of a year or 1 year or longer, depending on the teacher and situation. I could have received higher ordination much earlier than after 4 years, but it happened that around 6 months after my novice ordination, I moved to university. I studied at the university, and in that environment, my teacher was far from me, and so he could not, watch over me to see whether I'm ready for higher ordination or not. And I stayed at the university for around 3 years, and I didn't want to get higher ordination from anybody else, from somebody who's not my teacher. And that's where I decided to go to Burma. So I left, and with the idea that actually if I get higher ordination in Burma, it may help me for the residents in Burma, because the place where you get your novice ordination when you're a novice, and the place where you get your higher ordination when you're a higher ordained monk or bhikkhu, that is the place which is understood as your origin. So then when you are applying for visa, or when people are going to help you with visa, or residence in that country, if they know that you have ordained in their country, they are much more happy about it, because they think, he is our monk, or he is our novice. Or for nun, of course, she is our nun, So in that case, if you have been ordained in that country, it's very powerful, and it can help you to stay in the country much longer and get more support for the stay. So I knew that, I was very well aware of that, and that was one of the reasons why I waited so long before I came to Myanmar. Then I came to Myanmar, I was ordained as a monk, as bhikkhu, and I'm sure that this is why I got so great privilege to stay in this monastery, Shwe Umen Toya, for 5 years. And I'm going to change to a different monastery, so we'll talk about that later. And that's why I can easily get visa or travel here and there because I was ordained here, so I'm kinda,
Yeah.
Burmese monk. So I think this is all from me. Is there anything more to that question or anything more to explain about this?
No, I think it was a really good answer. The only thing is about right speech and the other rules, are they the same as when you become fully ordained? They become a part of the 227 rules?
No, they are actually detailed.
Okay.
So you get, specific rules for not telling lies, specific rules for non-abusive speech, specific rule for divisive speech, like telling some monk that some other monk told about this monk that this monk is this and that, and so on. So there are various rules for speech, and the musavada is there, the false speech, but I think that the false speech as the fourth rule could contain a lot of deception and various things like that, which would be specifically mentioned in the 227, and of course much further, much more in detail in the over 90 billion.
Yeah. Okay.
You can actually make a conscious decision. You can make a conscious decision to be a novice, and then you stay as a novice.
Okay.
But you would have to make that conscious decision. So you would come to the teacher and you would say, I heard that being a novice in Burma after 20 years is very rare, and that you would let me be novice just for a few
Months.
Minutes.
Okay.
And so I would like to be a novice for a longer time, let's say for 1 month or for 6 months or whatever is the period you're comfortable with. And then the teacher would of course agree. This is perfectly easy. The teacher just needs to know that you're aware of the novicehood, of the opportunity to train as a novice, and then of course the teacher will happily support you in that.
That's good to know too.
So can you please read for me the question from Gil?
Yes. This is from Gil from Australia. Living a lay life can often be very stressful with work, family and social obligations and demands. How can we best live a mindful life with limited time for formal Dhamma practice?
Mm-hmm. So yes, it's true, lay life is stressful, and that's exactly the reason why it's good to go to a meditation retreat time to time and gain some peace for the stressful life. So some people think that they go for meditation retreat in order to become enlightened, but that I think has never been the main purpose of meditation retreats. The main purpose of meditation retreats in the beginning, as established by Ledi Sayadaw in Myanmar, because he is the originator of meditation retreats in the world, was that people get interested in the mind and in the body, and therefore start to study Abhidhamma. The result is opposite. So many people start to meditate, and then from meditating they think, okay, meditation is more important than theory, we don't need to study, we will just practice. And then another Another idea was that the lay people will gain some peace and happiness, satisfaction, gratitude toward the Sangha, and the right direction for Dhamma. But what has happened is that instead lay people sometimes get conceited, and they think that they can do everything themselves, and they expect to become enlightened or to get jhana during their meditation retreat. So the previous purpose of meditation retreat is very different today. However, there are, of course, I believe majority of people who are coming and who really get interested in the Abhidhamma based on their experience with mind and the body. And many people actually gain a lot of gratitude and respect to the Buddha and Dhamma, and of course Sangha, for the opportunity to meditate and to attain peace. So meditation retreats are very important for lay people because they are supporting the lay people's lay life. And that is by two ways. Number one, lay people learn how to live their lay life, and number two, they get inspired by themselves because they learn what is possible. They find out that they can be in peace, they can enjoy harmony, they can be kind, they can live with less greed, less hatred, satisfied. They can be satisfied with little. So this is a very serious effect on the lay life, because then when they go back to their lay life, to their daily life, they know that they can be peaceful. So when they have a problem, they can remember what happened to them during the meditation retreat, such as their attainment of peace and happiness, and they can solve their problems through the memory of their successes. So here meditation retreat is very important and very beneficial for one's daily life. Then when the person is in their daily life, they can still continue the practice, perhaps not improve, but they can at least maintain their attainments of peace, happiness, harmony, understanding. So as lay people in daily life, it should be possible to do, let's say, 1 hour meditation in the morning, 1 hour meditation in the evening, which would serve more or less like that meditation retreat. So it's like if you have a computer, you can do a lot of work on your computer, and so you can, type up your documents, you can speak with people by Skype or by anything else. And you can read books, and you can make various projects. And then when you don't have a computer, you can use your phone. So the phone is not exactly like the computer, but it's a little bit like that. So it little bit substitutes the computer in terms of the main tasks, the most serious issues that you would otherwise do on computer. In the same way, meditation retreat would be like the computer, the place where you can solve a lot of your problems, depressions, difficulties, past memories which you cannot, resolve in your mind, and maybe bad habits and bad characteristics can be also dealt with to a great extent. And then in the daily life, of course, this would not be that easily possible, but you can go to that 1 hour meditation in the morning or 1 hour meditation in the evening, and there you would, just like you would with the phone, you would just look at the possibilities, how to solve this problem, how to solve that problem, do some little clarification, some little editing in your ways, in your plans. This is how the meditation can help through concentration and presence of the mind. What Gil, however, perhaps asked about is how to be mindful during the daily activities, how to meditate during the life itself, during the problems themselves. So that, of course, is very difficult, and if somebody was able to do that, then, or if anybody was able to do that, then I think meditation retreats would not be that much useful, because it would be possible to improve as a layperson. So we are dealing here with directly opposite things. That means stressful life and then peaceful practice. So combining peaceful practice with stressful life is simply not very easy. To solve this problem, we have again the meditation retreat, where we learn how to get peaceful, so then we can apply those attainments in the daily life. And we have the morning and evening practice, where we remind ourselves how does peace and happiness actually look like even when we are outside meditation retreat. And then through the memory, through the skill in those which we earned, which we attained in those opportunities, we again remember that during our daily life, during our stressful and difficult situations, and we apply that right there. So suppose that there is a case when the person is in the office, or they are simply solving some problem, and they have to face a situation which is opposite to their expectation. So somebody would come for a meeting, and they would expect that others will come to the meeting as well, but they don't turn up, or the most important person doesn't turn up. So this may be a reason to get angry. Or somebody may arrange some financial project with somebody else, and the other person doesn't pay the money, or actually steals the money, or makes a deception. So in these cases, usually people get angry or dissatisfied, and so on and so on. So in these cases, number one, what is important is to be mindful about that. If you are not aware of the fact that you are in a stressful situation, or that you have a problem, there is simply no way how to solve it. First we need to know what's happening. And only then, when we know what's happening, we can distinguish what exactly is happening. And just then, when we know what exactly is happening, we can apply some solution, or we can start to search for a solution. So if the person is not mindful, then it's simply not possible to do anything. Only what would be possible would be, to have a strict regime. When, let's say, you go to work, you have suppose 8 hours of work, and you would have like 30 minutes break, or you would have, let's say, 2 or 3 breaks in it, so that you would spend, let's say, 9.5 hours at work. And during those breaks, you would take 15 minutes meditation. So at that time, you don't have to be mindful, because you would get the mindfulness during those 15 minutes, and that way the mindfulness would be there with you. I mean, you do not have to be mindful based on the morning meditation. You would be mindful based on the breaks, based on the meditation in the breaks in your job. And I believe that everybody who is doing job and live more or less peaceful life, they are able to make some arrangement with their boss or with their work, so as to have 15 minutes for meditation. And if the boss is aware of the fact that the worker will actually yield more profit based on the meditation time, that the worker will be easier to communicate with based on the meditation time, then wise bosses, clever, smart bosses would not just allow one worker to do 15 minutes meditation, but they might actually establish meditation for all of their workers, not just one time during the 8 hours, but let's say 2 or 3 times, because they would see that the workers are much more efficient in their work and much easier to communicate and deal with. So this way the boss would prevent from problems, increase his own profit, increase happiness of his workers, and therefore increase harmony of at the workplace. So this would be for the boss, but of course it can start from the workers themselves by suggesting that they themselves would meditate. And of course this would start with an individual. So this is another way how to still continue to meditate and keep some mindful life. Then when there is enough meditation, when there is enough space for the mind to settle from the stressful problems, the mind then can deal with the stressful problems when they occur. And that is really powerful, really great. But again, I believe it is not possible if there is not some intensive practice in between, let's say for the 15 minutes or for 30 minutes. What I would advise is more of short periods rather than little long periods. That is because the mind easily gets succumbed to the stress of the life. So even if you had, let's say, 1 hour of meditation in between, let's say 1 hour at noon, and still have 1 hour in the morning and in the evening, I believe that there is more opportunity for stress and for anger and excessive greed rather than if you did 3 times 15 minutes, during the day, apart from the 1 hour in the morning and 1 hour in the evening. And whatever other solution, of course, would be just like that. So for somebody who is just 1 hour in the morning for meditation, not in the evening, they can apply only 2 times 15 minutes during the day, I believe it's much better than if they actually applied that 1 hour in the morning and 45 minutes at once at a certain moment during the day. So I really believe that separating the meditation into little chunks and meditating little by little is helping the mind to be more peaceful, settling back into the present moment. And then the morning meditation or the evening meditation would be the center of purification from the defilements that could arise in the previous day. So this would be my ultimate advice. Now, how to be mindful during those times when the person is not sitting in meditation. So what to be mindful of, what to watch, how to establish the mindfulness, how to keep it, how to be steady in that mindfulness so that the mindfulness is not just arising and passing away. If the sitting practice or walking practice has been sufficient, then the mindfulness should be automatic. So there is nothing to do at all. If the practice is enough, then the person is just aware that they are sitting, that they are walking, that they are talking, that they are getting angry, that they are getting greedy. They're just aware of that because of the sitting practice that was there in the other times. So if the practice is sufficient, if the sitting practice during the day is sufficient, then there is simply nothing to talk about because the person is naturally mindful. So there is nothing to speak about. The person simply realizes, hey, look at that, I am mindful. And they themselves may wonder, hey, this is so strange, I am mindful, I would not be mindful otherwise. Now mindfulness has arisen. Now look at me, I'm mindful, I know what I'm doing, I know what I'm talking about, or I know what's happening exactly, I know what I'm taking when I'm leaving, I know what I'm bringing when I'm coming, I know when I'm opening door, I'm aware that I'm opening door, I know when I'm putting things down, or when I'm taking things, or when I'm placing things somewhere, or when I'm making decisions or planning, I'm aware of that. That's wonderful. So how to instruct something, which you then wonder about? There is no way how to instruct these things. They just arise, and you wonder how they work. You just watch how magically this mindfulness arises itself without any trying for anything. And this is what happens if the sitting practice is sufficient. So the problem here we are dealing with is that the sitting is not sufficient. And therefore, we try to make the mindfulness. Now, if you try to make mindfulness, that then just is not successful, whatever you do. So I can give you some simple advices like, okay, so you make some plan on your iPhone and make some alarm every 15 minutes so that you are back in the present moment, and so on and so on. And then what you will see is that after some time, it just doesn't work. The alarm after some time will become boring. You will not even notice that there is alarm, which I have from my own experience. The alarm first day or 2 days is fine, is nice. It brings the mind back to the present moment. But then the mind automatically, knows, that's alarm, but now I'm not free for, going back to the present moment, and it's all lost. So the person then just doesn't even know that there's any alarm. And if somebody asks you, hey, what's this alarm? Then you would think, hey, what are you talking about? There's any alarm? So it just doesn't work. And with the plan, making a plan is a very powerful thing. Number one, making diary, writing diary at the end of the day, and writing a plan in the beginning or during the previous day. This is really powerful. But again, this is not something to be mindful. It is a common sense. It is just like anybody else would know what to do now. There are many people who don't meditate, many people who are not Buddhists or who are not religious at all, many people who are stressed and depressed and have problems, and still they live very seriously according to plan, and they have very exact plan minute to minute, and still they are stressed. And if you are stressed, then that means you're not meditating. So this is very unpleasant. If the person doesn't have enough time for sitting practice, then the mindfulness cannot arise automatically. And when the mindfulness is created manually, the natural mindfulness simply will not be working that well. Trying to arouse mindfulness intentionally is not pleasant. It is not easy. Easy for the mind. So it's again stressful, because there's the stress. Hey, wait, and what about my mindfulness? I should be mindful. Am I mindful? I'm not mindful. How come I'm not mindful? I should be mindful. I want to be mindful. Now look at that. What's happening? Now I'm mindful. Now I am not again mindful. And it's just fighting and fighting and fighting. It's very unpleasant. And it just doesn't work. It would work for 5 minutes, for 10 minutes, for 1 day, for 1 week, and then it's gone, because it's not pleasant. It just doesn't work. So the practical advice for mindfulness is to sit as much as possible, and then when there is the time when the person is not mindful, not sitting in their meditation, then automatically the mindfulness, the peace should follow with them based on their sitting practice. And regardless what is their sitting practice, the mindfulness should be there. So whether the sitting practice is based on metta, loving kindness, or anapana, watching breathing in and out, or just being mindful of what are the thoughts arising, or watching the 32 parts of body, or even just mere relaxation. that can be seriously affecting one's mindfulness, one's natural mindfulness during the daily life. So I believe that this is the best thing you can do. Increase your sitting meditation time, and therefore be able to have this continuous mindfulness. When there is this continuous mindfulness, this natural mindfulness, there are various things that you can watch. There are 4 altogether. One is the body, then you can watch the feelings, you can watch the mental states, and you can watch the phenomena, mental phenomena or phenomena altogether. So watching the body is the very simple one, watching, whether the body is sitting or walking or talking or bending, flexing hands and flexing and stretching the limbs, and going to toilet or eating or falling asleep or waking up, being silent, and so on and so on. So these are understood as watching the body. So you would be watching what's happening with the body. And breathing, of course, is there too. Then it's possible to watch feelings. So you can watch pleasant feelings when you are aware of pleasant feelings. You can watch unpleasant feelings when you are aware of unpleasant feelings. You can be yes, I think this is better. You can be aware of the feelings, unpleasant, that arise when you are aware of the unpleasant feelings, and you can be aware of all the other feelings as neutral. So this way you can be always aware of feelings, especially when you take hold of something, when you touch something. If you are not touching or holding anything, you would be aware of the contact of your feet with the floor, and usually either your hands or feet are touching something. If you come to a situation when neither your feet or hands touch anything, which could be perhaps during yoga or something like that, certainly not in daily life, then you would be aware of, let's say, the buttocks touching the ground, or any other part of the body that would be touching anything. In case if you are flying, in vacuum, let's say if you were training for intergalactic travel, then at that time you would be aware of those feelings that arise when you're not touching or not in contact with anything physical. So this is for feelings. Then we have for mental states. It's possible to be aware of mental states. So you can be aware of greed, hatred, ignorance, non-greed, non-hatred, ignorance, of tiredness, of vexation, of concentration, non-concentration, this arising of wisdom, not arising of wisdom, whatever there is. So this is very good to be aware of. And the last option is to be aware of the mental concomitants, such as the hindrances. That means desire for sensual pleasures, anger, tiredness, sloth and torpor, anxiety, restlessness, doubt about the practice. Then the consciousnesses, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and thinking. Then you can be aware of the 7 factors of enlightenment. That means aware of the mindfulness, whether there is mindfulness or not, whether you are aware of the phenomena as they arise and pass and distinguish them, whether there is effort, whether there is joy, satisfaction, ease, and equanimity. You can be aware of suffering, craving as the cause of suffering, non-craving as the cause of non-suffering, and your practice of the Eightfold Noble Path. Of course, you can be also aware of the five aggregates, so you can be aware of the consciousness, of feelings, of perceptions, of intentions, and of the body in the way as you perceive it by mind. So this would be the fourth option, watching the phenomena. The thing is here that we have to choose only one of the four, and you should know perfectly which one are you following, otherwise you may get confused simply because you would not know what are you doing. So we need to know whether we are watching the body, the feelings, the mental states, or the mental concomitants, or the Dhammas, the phenomena. Now, when to make that decision, I think you can make the decision in the morning. So you can decide in the morning, okay, so today let me watch the body. So then whole the day you are just watching the postures. You would be watching, okay, sitting, walking, talking, eating, falling asleep, then waking up, and so on and so on. And then if you are more peaceful and you see there is no particular change in the position, then you would be watching the breath. This would be for watching the body. And you would decide that in the morning, and you would follow that throughout the day, so that there is no confusion about what are you actually watching when you're mindful. Otherwise, you can decide to watch the feeling. So you can, in the morning you can wake up, or in the evening before the next day you can think, okay, so what am I going to do tomorrow? Am I going to watch the body, feelings, mental states, or the phenomena? And you can decide, okay, let me watch the feelings. So in the morning you would wake up and you would watch what are the feelings there. Feelings are on the 6 bases, so you would be watching feelings in in the sight, in the hearing, in smelling, in tasting, in the body, and in the mind as well. So whatever feelings would arise, you would be aware of that. Always only one object at a time, so that you can see arising and passing of phenomena. If you see more objects at a time, seeing impermanence is not easy. This is the decision of commentaries of our Pali scriptures, so which I have found yesterday. Mm-hmm. So this I think is very interesting, that we can actually decide which of the four we follow, and therefore we are free to follow them. Of course, for the mental states, again, you would decide for whole the day. For the phenomena, you would decide for whole the day to follow just that. You can do different practice when you're sitting, but you would make serious decision, like a strong decision for what you are doing outside the sitting. What is the mindfulness outside the sitting time? So you can decide for metta when you're sitting, you can decide for watching the mind when you're sitting, whatever you like. And then you would have one of the four only for whole the day that you would follow throughout the day. So then gradually there should be some progress, but again I believe that it's all dependent on the time that you dedicate to the sitting meditation. If there is no sitting meditation and just stressful day from morning until night, nature is nature, that's the way it is. The mind will simply slip away from the concentration, it will slip away from the mindfulness, and there will be some difficulties with greed, hatred in the way as we are. Of course, if the person is enlightened, then the mind, when it slips the most, it will slip most only to some extent, not to, it will always have some limit. If there is a stream enter, one street turner, an unreturner, arahant, always when they don't meditate, their mind slips only to some extent, never without a limit. There is always a limit. As for arahant, he's supposed to be mindful all the time, but I think, arahant is aware of pleasant and unpleasant feelings, and it's always good for arahant if he can live in solitude, in happiness, in peace, so that they enjoy their life. Because many arahants, there are cases in scriptures when arahants, they don't live in peace, they live in stress, and they are thinking about, what if I go actually to a peaceful state, to a peaceful place, just like the Buddha. So the Buddha would stay in a monastery, and the monastery would be very busy with people. There would be a lot of stress, and the Buddha would just decide, okay, so it's so busy here, so let me go. And the Buddha just went to forest, and he would live there alone with a divine elephant that cared for the Buddha, and then a monkey that also cared for the Buddha. So again, the sitting meditation is necessary for anybody. The solitude, you do not need to be alone when you're doing sitting meditation. The fact is that you are alone when you're doing sitting meditation, regardless the number of people who are there with you, because you have time for yourself. You have time, the mind has time to concentrate, and so the person has this great opportunity to calm down and watch their mind or watch the body or concentrate on the samatha object, and therefore get back to the present moment and get back to the to whatever were the pleasant states that they want, and finally support their mindfulness outside their sitting meditation.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Okay, so may you be happy, and may you soon attain the eternal bliss of Nibbana.